Okay.
Or drop away. As long as the camera's locked in place. Very important detail. Trust but verify. Make sure that's locked in place. So now what we do here is we bring the central post so it's parallel with the ground, pointing the camera lens at the ground here, and then you're just gently letting go of the base. And the idea is you want to count in seconds how long it takes to go from point A to point B.
So that's 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi?
That's 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, or 1 1000, 2 1000. Okay. So it's just that 90-degree range of motion. Point A, point B. So okay. Here we go. 1 1000, 2 1000.
Looked real fast.
Yeah, that looked a little too fast.
It barely made a second.
It barely made a second. So really what we want something more like this. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000.
Okay.
So what that means is when you get this 1 1000, 2 1000, this fast drop time, well, that's a relationship.
Heavier than your bottom.
Quite the opposite. The bottom is heavier than the camera.
Oh.
So the base is a little bit heavier than the camera.
So it's dropping faster.
It's dropping faster.
There's not enough resistance. Okay.
It's dropping faster because there's more weight on this side of the fulcrum point than there is this.
Okay.
And think of it in a way, Rick, that this is basically your parity point. This is your fulcrum. This is a big equal sign here, relatively speaking, in the initial setup. So just kind of visualize that. The idea is the weight that's on the top should relatively be equal to the weight and leverage, because it's all about leverage. It's not going to be 1 pound to 1 pound. It's more like a 3 to 1 ratio. So think of in terms of balance, you want to have a balance and parity between the weight on the top and the weight and leverage on the bottom. So the vertical center of balance between the top and the bottom is right around the gimbal.
Okay, and that's what you're determining by the drop test. Okay.
And right now the vertical center is too high and it's dropping very fast.
Okay, and how do we extend that?
Well, what we need to do...
I gave away the fact I knew how to do it.
Oh.
So, how
did
would
you already know the answer to this?
Yeah, since I've had one for a couple of months, it's...
This is for everybody else.
Yeah.
So we want to make this very user-friendly and show them here. The idea is take some weight off. If it's too bottom-heavy, must have too much weight.
That's the first step you should take, not shortening, lengthening posts or doing... Can't shorten the post anymore.
We could shorten the post, but the post is actually pretty short right now.
Yeah. So the next step is, thank you, less weight.
That's right.
Less strain on my arm.
That's right, absolutely.
Okay, let's do it.
Anytime we can take off a little bit of unneeded weight, it's always welcome. So now these
right
knobs...
after winter time, that is a good idea.
Right after hibernation season.
Yeah.
Take off a little weight and we'll be ready to fly in no time. These knobs come right off.
How much is this model?
Weight plate comes right off.
Filming?
We're going to fasten these knobs back on. We'll do the same thing on this side, and then we'll get the knobs on the final adjustment here.
Now, I noticed when I got this, it came with a gazillion weights.
It came with a lot of weights.
Yeah, it seemed like with the, what are we talking about, 6 pound limit?
6 pound limit.
The 2000. That seemed like a heck of a lot of weights.
Well, it's about 2 pounds of weight, roughly speaking, because you're running about a 3 to 1 ratio. So with a 6 pound camera, you'd want roughly 2 pounds of counterweight.
Yeah, but this one's like 1.5 pounds, and the lens is nowhere near a half pound. And this is a pretty average configuration. The cool thing is, I was able to use the rest of the weights on the back of my shoulder rig as a counterweight.
There you go. So you found a use for them.
Yeah.
That's key.
And I've always got them handy.
And the other thing customers have used these before too is if they have a really lightweight camera and they want to add a little top weight,
put them up there.
They put these under those really light cameras if they have a flip minnow, things like this. We've even had guys try and put iPhones on these things. So they figure out a way, innovative way to add some top weight. They use them for that feature as well. Application. Okay, so make sure that's tracking right. So we got that on there nice and... That's one of the things you want to be careful of too, is taking care of these these screws here. Because you want them to get banged up because the threading could stick a little bit. So you want to take care of the hardware and make sure when you're not using it, if you're putting this stuff away somewhere, that it's not being banged around. Okay, so we got one side down. Now right over to the other side. Now again, this is all initial setup.
Yeah.
Once you set it, you can forget it. You're ready to go. Then it just comes down to flying.
Now, I'm surprised I don't see graduations anywhere on this. So a user,
Increase.
how would you feel about, a user making, incremental marks,
Yeah.
precision marks
Sure.
on the, the tube itself and on the wings
Sure.
to make this repeatable?
Sure, absolutely. Reference points is always
Yeah, 'cause
useful.
I've got to take this apart, put it back in my camera bag,
Sure.
and fly home with it.
Sure.
And go, okay, where in the hell did Tom have that?
Remember those grease markers that used to be used for cutting tape?
Yeah.
We don't know what tape is
Well, we
anymore.
no, but
now
I
we have,
use it for my follow focus.
Yeah,
marks.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So now we just get a yellow grease mark and we can just mark away, and we have all these convenient reference points.
Okay. So we've decreased the weight.
We've taken the weight off.
We're pretty low on the column.
Pretty low on the column. We've
Which
taken the
normally
weight off.
slows down. Okay.
Okay, so let's take a look and see where we're at this point. Now that we've removed one weight from each side, let's kind of take a look and see where we're at now in the vertical balance. Well, you can see what happened.
Yeah. Now the camera is definitely.
A shift in balance. So what happened is the camera's just become top heavy. Before it was bottom heavy with too much weight, and now it's just we've gone to the other extreme. Now it's top heavy with not enough weight and or leverage. So now it's all about leverage.
If we took out one plate, you can't put a half plate back on.
We want to be symmetrical in our weight distribution.
So
Keep that apex.
now we get to move the tube.
Now we get to move the tube.
Okay.
So let's
By
go to the right
moving
side.
that down, we move the fulcrum point.
That's it.
Okay.
And just like our kip knob for our quick releases on the right, so too is our telescoping release knob, as we pointed out earlier.
Okay.
So now it's just right on the right side. It's nice and clean and easy. We just turn that back, and then once that's loose,
Being careful to keep everything aligned.
keep everything aligned the best you can. We'll just move that right up. Trial and error at this point. Let's pick it up
Okay.
off the flat surface and see where we end up.
Whoa, that made a difference.
It's not top heavy anymore. Well, let's take a quick look at our drop time. 1/1000, 2/1000. Well, wait a second.
You cheated. You rushed that second number.
That was a rush. 1/1000, 2/1000.
It's still a little fast.
Still a little fast. So you can see what happened is we kind of went back to where we were before. We were in a very short position with two weights on each side, and now we've taken a weight off each side, but telescoped it out about 5 inches, and we're back to the same drop time,
But with less weight for my arm.
but with less weight for the arm and a lot closer to where we want to be.
And we have more flexibility. Now we have some room to play with here.
Now we have some
Okay.
room to play with. So since it's bottom heavy, to a degree of 1.5 second drop, it's all about the drop time, Rick.
We're going to shift the fulcrum point up.
You've got to shift that fulcrum point in vertical center up. So let's just cut that distance right in half.
That much. Okay.
Right in half.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
1/1000, 2/1000.
You went a little bit.
Got right into the microphone.
Yeah.
A little click there. Let's try that again. So we've cut the distance of the telescoping leverage in half. 1/1000, 2/1000, 3/1000. That's about 2.5 seconds.
Okay, but I noticed something else that we hadn't seen before. We did a rotation on the way down.
It did. It kind of spun on the way down. And what was going on there is, as you get closer to having your fulcrum or your vertical center in the right position, which is pretty much right at the 3-axis gimbal here, it becomes out of balance, isn't exactly dialed in.
That's right, you said we have to go back and do that again
So
after we get the drop time.
Correct.
Okay.
Horizontal, vertical, and then the final's horizontal. So we're pretty close on that second step of vertical. So let's just take another quick look at it and see. I think 2.5 seconds is pretty good here. 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000.
That's a good looking drop time.
That's a good looking drop time. Now let's just finalize the horizontal balance. This will be our final procedure here. We'll loosen these knobs on the sides, on the bottom.
You sound so confident this is going to be our final procedure. I'm going to love it if it is.
3. 1, 2, 3. Well, that's what it's all about. It's all about horizontal, vertical, and horizontal. Those are the standard operating procedures. And most of the time with this thing, Rick, you're shooting straight forward. So you just follow along. 90% of this stuff, of any Glidecam, whether it's our big systems being used by American Idol, Disney, and Oprah Winfrey, or if it's our small stuff being used by Fox Network for productions like House by Gail Tattersall or Philip Bloom, 90% of it is just walking straight forward.
Or, in Vinny's case, skating straight.
Or skating straight forward. In the case of the rock star of the Glidecam HD2000, Vinny's great. He is just absolutely
And he's just
great.
a hell of a nice guy, too.
And he's a hell of a nice guy. Vinny's the best. We love Vinny here at Glidecam. Let's take a look now. So we have our horizontal, shooting straight forward. As I mentioned, that's about 90% of the action.
Okay, now this is just personal preference that you're driving, you're holding with your right hand.
1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3. That's all personal preference.
Yeah. Yeah, because I have more strength in my left hand, and I find myself naturally picking that up.
You could turn it right around with this side also. So you can either shoot with your left hand, you could shoot with the right hand. Or you could even hold the handle from the back if you wanted to. I mean, trying to hold it from the front, probably not.
Okay.
But for me, I tend to have it more towards the right. You can see it's off a little bit, so we'll just tweak just a little here. And that's roughly how you get this thing balanced and set up. So that way it remains level when you're flying through space and moving it around.
Okay.
So when you're shooting this way, compare it to regular handheld footage. Smooth, pro, gliding, Glidecam footage versus rough, unstable handheld footage.